Wonderful. So Thanksgiving, this is our service where we just celebrate. Next Sunday we begin Advent, and we'll be in the whole movement towards celebrating the season of Christmas. And it's interesting that Thanksgiving, here we celebrate historically kind of the gift of the bountiful harvest. We have the horn of plenty, cornucopia, on the altar, horn of plenty. And sometimes we don't feel like, the horn of plenty. Sometimes we don't feel like life brings us that horn of plenty. I know, in my life, I sometimes find myself feeling a little bit like someone stole the horn of plenty. And who's keeping it under lock and key? But over the last 7 weeks, we've been looking at 7 different ways to think about human consciousness. So my test for you as we begin our little moment this morning is, how many of you could name the 7 components of Samuel Bois' semantic transactor model? See how smart you are? Never mind. The reason I bring that up is that if you think about it, how we experience life, you can talk about gratitude all day long. And I could say to you, wouldn't it be wonderful? It's a great spiritual practice if you and I become more grateful and thankful and express our gratitude and things. I could say that all day long. And yet, the patterns in our lives, the inner dialogue that's always running, has a scripted nature to it that's pretty hard to change sometimes. If I've learned anything from the study I've done in my own counseling and practice of understanding the neurobiology of the way consciousness works, it's one thing. We are habit formed from the day we're born. That we begin creating these patterns, these automated patterns, and everything we do becomes very scripted. And the way you think about your life, and the image that you have of yourself, and the image that you have of other people, and how you value those people has a pattern to it. And just saying, I'm going to be more grateful, is not going to change that pattern. So the reason I enjoyed over the last 7 weeks, and hope you did, of looking at this Bois model of human consciousness, is it's like 7 little windows into how we have those patterns operating. So for instance, you could take the past and you could say, how is it that you have patterns that come from your automated sense of what has been? Of course, in the past, I learned that I'm supposed to treat Martin a certain way. I'm supposed to, when I greet Martin, the pattern that I learned from growing up in Mississippi is I'm supposed to smile very sweetly and say, let's see if I can do it in actual Mississippi verbiage. How are you today, Martin? That's not even it. I've lost it. I can't even do kind of southern stuff anymore. I don't have a pattern. I could have many other kinds of patterns I could have learned in the past. I could have learned to go, Martin, you are amazing. I think you're amazing. It's so amazing that you are here. I want to learn something from you because you have something that no one else in this room has. That's not what I learned. I learned to treat Martin as an image like all the other images in my life and not quite see the magic that is Martin. Have you noticed the magic that is Martin? Our past becomes a way in which we project onto the future exactly the way we're supposed to be. It's a pattern. It's just a script. It doesn't mean we can't change it. It just means if we don't pay attention to it, we can't change it. Being grateful for Martin or Kay, fabulous reindeer antlers. That whole idea of celebrating what is around us in ways that we had not yet noticed, or that we've become accustomed to taking for granted, is a part of the way human beings operate. We are habituating creatures. It's the way I learned how to play guitar. I learned how to strum from Wendy Fontanese. I was in 13, she was 21. She had my complete attention. And I learned the down, down, up strum. Down, down, up, down, up, down, up. You repeat it over and over again. most songs you can play with a down, down, up song with a strum. And once I got that strum down, I could make chords, and I would make chords, and then I had to learn to change chords, and that took a few minutes to figure out, like a year. Like down, down, up, down, down, up, right? And so eventually you get to where you automate these things, you habituate these things. It's a part of the way. By the time I was in college, I was playing in places, in Shreveport and Bossier, and I could do 4 hours, down, down, up, down, down, up, I had to finger pick and stuff like that, and sing and listen to the conversation at the first table. Because it becomes habituated, it's automated, and it's so easy to do that. You just have to do it for about 10,000 hours. Anybody can do it. But by the time you get to be my age, it's a little too late. 10,000 hours is harder to give to it. You have to start when you're like 10, right? That's the time to start learning that kind of stuff. Maybe 4. My point is, I don't really want to approach Judy the way I approach playing the guitar. Judy, I don't want to automate. I don't want to have it become automatic that when I see Judy, I know Judy. Because I can't see the wonder that is Judy by automating that I kind of know who Judy is. I've seen that, been there. I know what she's going to say. I don't. Judy has changed since I saw her a week ago. Life is continually transforming us, everything about us. We are continually growing and becoming something else. And the images that we project because of what we've experienced in the past, and we project them onto the moment, limit us in being able to see the miracle, don't they? We habituate. It's the way we do it. It's good that we do that. And then it's bad that we do that. How do we learn not to always do that without developing a certain practice of consciousness, like William Isaac suggests in his book, Dialogue, The Art of Thinking Together, when he says, you know what you really want to kind of have a better conversation with someone instead of having the same conversation we tend to have over and over and over again? He says, make it strange. So put it on your, bracelet, put it on your wall, put it on your mirror, put it in your car, make it strange. So you're driving down the same road that you've driven down before, make it strange. Notice what's not been seen before. Notice how Jeff has changed since last week. I really don't see anything, Jeff, sorry. But there's something there. I can't notice it yet. The experience of non-automating is the task of adulthood, in my opinion. We grow by practicing and incorporating and automating so that we can move on to the next thing. And by the time we get to be 20 or 30 or 50 or 60, we have automated so much of our lives, it's really easy to find yourself walking through life numb to the miracle. You want to have some gratitude in your life, you're going to have to change that automation. Sylvan Tompkins called it also the valley of perceptual knowledge. The more I know about something, the more I think I know, and the less I'm able to really communicate the truth of what's there. Sometimes I can get into a whole lot of detail and so miss the point. The point. What is the point? What is the point to life? Is it to automate the experience to the point where you kind of function higher and higher and higher and higher, and you can multitask on multiple levels? Because all of this stuff, there is no multitasking, by the way. There's just automation, right? You can really only give your attention to one thing at a time. The rest is just you're doing it from you've habituated, right? Like if you think you can text and drive at the same time, nope, you can text, and there's a part of you that is kind of automating the driving, which works seldom. Very seldom. So the idea here is that perhaps what we really need when we think of Thanksgiving is to think in terms of non-automation. How do I de-habituate? You want to find your way to the magic of Christmas, to the wonder of the season, the joy of all of that? We have to maybe consider how we push back against that part of us that wants to take for granted everything. It's real natural for human beings to do that. But look at what it cuts us off from. And sometimes what we have habituated to is more toxic than others. Some of us have habituated ways of experiencing ourselves and the world around us that are incredibly toxic patterns of self-criticism or criticism of others, or intense need for control, where we're continually so caught up in some other feeling like fear or shame or distress or anger that there's really no room for some foot to go down on the other gas pedal of joy. So if my emotional life is so dominated by fear, or so dominated by anger, or so dominated by distress or shame, how will I experience interest and excitement and joy? In the passage that Anne read for us today, they were questioning Jesus about showing a miracle. Hey, could you show us a miracle? Sure would make it easier for us. I have felt that way before. Sometimes, actually, I may have actually felt that way with some of the people who have been mentors in my life, who have taught me about different aspects of philosophy or psychology, and I just keep wanting to just show me how it works, make it work. Show me, make it like everything's like I do this and then it's all great. Thankfully, I never found one of those guys. I don't think they exist, because our journey, your journey, and my journey are so unique and different that transformation happens for each of us in our own way. We all find our own way to love and our own way to the kingdom. But maybe recognizing that we have a miracle already, that the miracle is here, the miracle is in us. At the end of that passage, Jesus says, I am the bread. You keep looking for a miracle like Moses, he brought the bread out of heaven. I'm going to be the bread. If you join me in this, you will be the bread. Be the miracle. One way to be the miracle is to practice slowing down the automated way that we see each other. Just to be still long enough to make it strange and see that which is wondrous and gracious and beautiful that's all around us all the time. And like the end of my song, it may take 1,000 miles or maybe just 2 before you begin to see love is always coming to you. Love is always coming to you. It is the walls inside our hearts that prevent it. Amen.